So we have one more roundup left on April 23rd. The recordings of the previous roundups are on our website. We put them all there. Um, so go to tslp.org, the events tab, and scroll down and you'll find them. Let's talk work. Our event for the spring, these are starting to go on right now. In fact, right now, Beth Peterson is just wrapping up hers. Um, March 27th, the Watertown Let's Talk Work had to be rescheduled due to weather. So that will be taking place in Watertown on the 27th of March, April 2nd at the American in Fort Pierre, and April 9th at the Rushmore Hotel and Suites in Rapid City. So contact your regional liaison if you have interest in those. And we are in full swing planning the 26th annual YLF. Dan and I were just talking about it, in fact, and doing a lot of the stuff. We're out interviewing these students. We are almost done with that. We will be meeting shortly here in March to choose our delegates, and then those letters will be going out in April. So if you have delegates, if you have students who have applied and are waiting for that, let them know that it's in April, not April, April. And registration is now open for the Transition Summer Institute, which is July 8th and 9th at Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center in Oakoma. So I will leave this up for just a second. You know, you can't click on the link right now, but if you want to take a screenshot or something, I'll just pause for a moment so you can get that. You can also go to tslp.org, that events tab. And is that link there, Maya? You're still muted, Maya.
I will actually be getting it up today. So,
Okay.
yes.
I assumed it would be on the website at some point shortly if it wasn't already. So, yeah, you can either take a screenshot right now. That flyer went out through the liaisons as well and should be going out on the listserv as soon as it gets approved. So, and of course, if you have any questions or need help registering, just let your local liaison know or contact Miss Maya because she's the big wig when it comes to Summer Institute. Oh, and I clicked a button, so therefore I need to click another button. Oh, okay. Well, that's it for me, I guess then. Wow. It's getting to be that time of year where, we're so used to having all these things going on and we're planning for these things. But we're starting to run down in the year. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Kara Schweitzer. She's working with SD My Life, and she's going to let us know all the really great things that are happening with SD My Life. Kara?
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm going to pull up my screen here. You guys can let me know if you can see a presentation here. Everybody seeing that? Okay, perfect. Thanks again for having me. It's so nice to see the TSLP people's faces, even virtually. I miss all of you. I see you all more often than I have lately. My name is Kara Schweitzer. I am with the Department of Education. I've been with the DOE about 12 years, but for the last 9 months or so, I am the new-ish SD My Life specialist for the Department of Education. So I moved into this role last summer, transitioning from the CTE office. And I'm just really excited to share everything that I've learned about SD My Life in the last year. I was a very basic user before my time taking over this role, and I've really dove in over the last 9 months or so. And it's a really wonderful resource, and I'm excited to teach you all about it. So please, if somebody wants to monitor the chat, if you have questions, don't hesitate to let me know. I'm happy to be interrupted. That's the way I roll too. So I will go ahead and get started. So this is SD My Life 101. Typically, this is going to be a very abbreviated version, obviously. We have trainings in person sometimes, and they're an entire morning to really tackle everything you can do in SD My Life.
You gonna watch this?
No.
Well, no.
Everything you can do in SD My Life would take at least a good day of navigating through everything. And if you want to log on to your own SD My Life screen while we're going through this and click and all of that, that's super helpful as well. You can just watch, but you'll have all these resources after we're done today. So go ahead and learn however you feel best learning. There's my contact information again when we're done today. If you have any questions or need any information that I didn't share or any clarification on anything, please do not hesitate to reach out and let me know. So I'm going to be talking about SD My Life today, and I'm also going to be talking about something called Zello. And I wanted to make sure that I'm sharing with you those two different terms. SD My Life is the South Dakota Career Exploration platform that we use. It is powered through a company called Zello. They're the ones who own all the information, and we use them to populate our students into SD My Life and all of that good stuff. So sometimes you'll see the word Zello, sometimes you'll see the words SD My Life, but that's the difference there. SDMylife.com is how you and your students, any youth that you're working with, will access the information that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So what is SD My Life? SD My Life is a free resource for all South Dakota students in grades 6 through 12. That's public school, private school. It does not matter. Homeschool, it does not matter. If they're grades 6 through 12, and they're a student in South Dakota, they have access to SD My Life. How they access it might look a little different depending on where they're learning from, but they all have access. It's free to all of those students. SD My Life is a career exploration and career decision-making resource for all of these students. It also can help with secondary and post-secondary planning. There's academic planning features in SD My Life, and then it also houses the ACT test prep platform called Methodize. That's becoming a very popular feature currently, as starting next year, juniors in South Dakota will be using the ACT as our state testing, and Methodize is a free testing resource for students. So schools are starting to show a lot of interest in Methodize, and that is housed in SD My Life as well. So why SD My Life? Why does SD My Life exist? Essentially, it exists as a resource for some administrative rules. Now, no school or no student is required to use SD My Life. They can use any career exploration platform or assessment platforms that they choose to. But because we do have these administrative rules that you're seeing on the screen there, I won't read through all of them, but because we do have those rules, we need to provide something for schools to use to meet those administrative rules. Primarily, the first one is just making sure students in grade 9 through 12 have a personal learning plan. They can do that in SD My Life. And then they also have to, schools also have to administer career interest assessments by the time students finish 8th grade. And they have to administer a career aptitude assessment by the end of their 10th grade. So the SD My Life resource catalog of resources helps meet these administrative rules. So the career interest assessment in SD My Life is called Career Matchmaker, and the aptitude test is called Skills Lab, and I'll go over both of those today. So this is what the login page for SD, if you type in www.sdmylife.com, this is where you're going to get. This is where you're going to get as an educator. This is where you're going to get as a student. There's an educator tab here. You can access all of the resources on that educator tab without ever having an account. You don't need to have an account or log into SD My Life in order to access those resources. And I'll show you some of those here soon. And then the login button on the right side is for your own account if you happen to have one, or your students will log in there as well. So if you do click on that educator tab, it will show you all of these resources. There's a one-page document you can print out or download that tells you what students can do in SD My Life, that shows all of the features that are available for free. There also are some resources through Zello that schools and organizations can contact them to purchase. They're not free, but you can activate them. For example, SD My Life actually has an elementary program as well, but the state of South Dakota does not pay for that. If your organization would like to offer that to elementary students, you can contact them and get that information. So this just shows what the features are in SD My Life and how to access them. And then there's also an entire catalog of how-to guides. So on all of these little arrows, you can click and pull up one-page how-to guides for all of the features in SD My Life. If you're working with students and you need to help them problem solve, there's a lot of you can essentially solve any problem that your students are having on SD My Life by accessing these resources, or you can get a hold of me. I'm perfectly happy to help you as well. Then we also have a page that shows our support team. So essentially any issue with SD My Life, just getting students logged on. You can't find your student, things like that. You can contact, we have 2 people at the state level, myself and Janine Outka, that will help with technical assistance here in South Dakota. And then if there's a bigger picture issue, like, your entire system is down at your school or at your organization, things like that, then we have folks at the company level at Zello that will help problem solve. So that's our support team. And then we also have a page of frequently asked questions. This has been updated very recently. Most of the things that people ask about in SD My Life are kind of repetitive, if one person has the problem, another person does as well. So we created this frequently asked questions guide that kind of helps walk you through a lot of the issues that people might have with SD My Life. So if you do have an educator account and you log in, this is what you'll see. This is the educator dashboard. And I really wanted to point out I have a circle around there. There's something called Zello Academy. And that is something, if you really want to take a deep dive into SD My Life and find out the myriad of ways without coming to one of my trainings in person, although we do have those and I'd love to have you, you can take this Zello Academy course and it'll help you really walk through all of the things that your students might need help with in SD My Life. And then also, if you do have students using SD My Life, there's this great graph here that shows student usage, kind of how many logins your students have had, when they logged in, if they were supposed to log in, you can see if they did or didn't, things like that. So this is the educator dashboard. Another cool thing about the educator dashboard is that you can demo SD My Life from a student view. So you can select a school and a grade, and you can view the platform as a student if you kind of want to see what they're experiencing. So you can do that all here. Here is the homepage for the Zello Academy. This takes about an hour and a half. That's if you just work at an average pace. But this is just a really great course. Just if you want to take a deep dive on your own time, you can start and stop and things like that. If you find yourself needing more information about SD My Life and you don't have a chance to go to a training and you just want to make sure that you're more comfortable with the platform before you're helping students use it, this is a free opportunity. You just need to get an account, log in, and you can access this Zello Academy. So now on to student usage. Student Zello accounts are affiliated with their SIMS number. So that's their state ID. They're not affiliated with their school district. Their student SIMS number never changes regardless of where they're enrolled. So the number follows them. And then the SIMS number and Zello accounts go with the student from school to school, regardless of how many times that happens or if they drop out and go back. It really makes no difference. Once they're assigned that number, that's their number. So that number is connected to their name in SD My Life until they're no longer a student. So just to kind of give you some background on how that happens, their SIMS numbers are populated through Infinite Campus. So our local school districts have to maintain Infinite Campus enrollment to make sure that their student data is accurate. And we actually collaborate with Infinite Campus to make sure that that's kept up and make sure everything's entered correctly. And then the local school district shares that data with the DOE. We monitor daily state infinite campus data and all the files from the school districts. And then that data gets sent every night. Every day at 4 o'clock, I get a email notification saying that they've updated data. So every day they send data to Zello overnight. And then the next day it's all like populated and corrected if anything needs to happen on that end. And then every day I get an email that says everybody's information is in there correctly and you're good to go. So yeah, Zello uses that data from Infinite Campus to create and manage and then maintain the student's access. So as long as a student is enrolled in Infinite Campus correctly, they should be have access to their SD My Life account. There are occasions where things aren't entered correctly, a name is misspelled, numbers were mixed around. Another common problem is that a student's been enrolled in one school and that school hasn't unenrolled them and another school can't enroll them. So the student can't access their information until all of the information on Infinite Campus gets straightened out. Those are pretty common issues that I have. It's mostly kind of just user error on the school end of things. But typically, if a student wants access, all they need to do is log in. So here's how students log in, just like the educator page I showed you before. They're going to click that login button. And the only thing a student needs to log into SD My Life is their K-12 username and password. That's it. So as long as they remember their K-12 username and password, they should be good to go. They can reset their email password in their K-12 email. So if they're the type of kid who doesn't log in very often, isn't checking their email as often as they should, they can reset it there and then they can use that information to log into SD My Life. In rare occasions, if it's just not working, we can use their SIMS number and then I can create a password for them to log in the first time. So typically a teacher or a counselor will get a hold of me and say, hey, the K-12 username and password isn't working. So we'll use their SIMS number and I will give them a temporary password. And then SD My Life will ask them to create their own password. And then they should be able to log in and change it to their K-12 email and password. That's very rare. For the most part, 99.9% of students can just use their K-12 email and password to log in. So once a student signs in to SD My Life, this is what they're going to see. They're going to see their student dashboard. We have our educator dashboard. We have our student dashboard. This looks very different. It's very clean. It's very easy for students to kind of glance at things that they need to do, or there's little check marks by things that they've completed. Notice this dashboard is for grade 11. And you'll see that under the lessons, on the lessons tab on the left-hand side of the screen, it says choosing a college. I will show you the 9th grader screen here soon. That one will not say choosing a college. They fit whatever stage the student is at in their academic career. So, and then any progress students have made will be easy to see here on the dashboard. You can see the check mark in this box there next to the word matchmaker. That means the student has completed that assessment. So they can just take a quick glance and say, oh, yep, I've got that done. I've got that done, or I need to work on this. If it's something that the school or a teacher has assigned, they should be able to keep track of it pretty easily. Here is the difference between an 11th grade dashboard and a 9th grade dashboard. Very similar in visuals, but just what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to get started looks very different depending on if they're a 9th grader, 10th grader, even 7th grader. It's all dependent on what grade they're in. So that's kind of helpful to know that your 9th grader is not going to log in and see a thing that says choosing a college, and then everybody's going to panic and they're going to say, why do I have to pick a college? I'm only in the 9th grade. So it fits whatever educational stage they're at. So then also on the student dashboard, when you scroll down a little bit, you're going to find this. Well, here's the About Me section that I just made it a little bit bigger here on the right-hand side, so you can see all the things that are available to them. And then on the left, that's below there at the when you scroll down on their dashboard, you'll see these links and resources. They can access the South Dakota Department of Labor there. Oftentimes, students will get assignments asking, what are the most popular careers in South Dakota, things like that. They can access a lot of that information. They can do a lot of that research right here on SD My Life. They can access the state library. We partner with Our Dakota Dreams and the DLR's career launch. They can go straight to those websites from here. And then at the top of those links and resource is that Methodize resource I was telling you about. That's the ACT test prep. That's all they need to do to access that as well is log into SD My Life. They don't need a separate login or anything to access Methodize. It's all part of this same resource. So I'm going to show you there. I have circled on this screen Matchmaker. That's what we're going to dive into really quickly. This is what a student will see when they select the Matchmaker feature. The Matchmaker has 3 parts. It's just a career exploration quiz essentially, and it shows you all of the different options. It takes place in 3 steps, and then when they're all done, they kind of have all the information that they need to kind of know which direction they want to go. So I'll show you what that looks like. So when a student decides to start the quiz there, they will come to a page that asks them to discover their careers. It will explain to them what Matchmaker is. It just asks them about their likes and dislikes, and then it suggests careers based on their interests. There are 3 phases to this quiz, and every time you do a different step of the quiz, your career matches will be updated. So you might answer a question in the first phase, and then you're going to answer a question in the second phase, and that's going to kind of cancel out that question you had in your first phase because it's just very intuitive, and it's going to know that like this career is a better fit for you than this career, even though you indicated that you liked being outdoors or whatnot, or you liked animals. Maybe you don't like blood or something. So maybe even though you like animals, if you don't like blood or medical things, maybe working as a vet tech wouldn't be a very good fit for you. So it finds those things out as you walk through all of these different phases of the Matchmaker, and it'll adjust your career selections based on that information. So you'll get started on that. The first thing it's going to ask you in Matchmaker is if you would like to go on to more school or training. If you have an alternate route that you're planning, like straight to the workforce or the military, or if you're just not sure yet. So the student will decide one of these 3 options. And the wonderful thing is you can change that selection anytime. Like they can do the Matchmaker, and then 6 months later, they definitely know they want to try tech school or whatever, or they definitely know that they're going to go into the military. They can go back and do the Matchmaker and select a different route, and it'll help them narrow down their decisions based on their plans that they're making. These are what the questions in Matchmaker look like. There are 39 of them, and it's this simple. The student reads the prompt. How do you feel about working with children? And they're going to select anything on the scale from like very much to dislike very much. They're going to have 39 questions. How do you feel about working with children? How do you feel about working with the elderly? How do you feel about working outdoors? How do you feel about working at night? Just all the different things you can think of. There will be 39 of those questions. And when they're done, it'll take them to the next. It'll show them some careers and things like that, but then it'll also take them to the next phase of the quizzes here. So I answered 39 questions, and it told me my career matches could be special education teacher, a teacher assistant, or a child and youth worker, say in a daycare setting or whatnot. And then the really cool thing too is it'll also show you what career clusters. If any of you are familiar with CTE, South Dakota recognizes 16 different career clusters, and it'll show them what career clusters they would be a good fit for. And usually those selections and those career clusters go together. And then also they can use that information to find out if like their school offers those career clusters and things like that. And once they've completed the first step of the Matchmaker, they're going to go on to phase 2, which is going to help them figure out their personality style. Your personality style, just like helps kids figure out who they are, what they like, what their likes and dislikes are, things like that. What makes them different from other people. Just understanding what their personality style is can really help them focus in on their career options. So they'll take the personality style quiz. Same thing. We've got the Likert scale here. There will be 28 questions similar to this. How do you feel? This is just an example. How do you feel about working with babies and young children? So they'll make their selection and they'll do this 27 more times. Some of the questions will be like, how do you like working on machinery? How do you feel about working outdoors in the snow? Things like that. It'll just really give them an indication of how their personality works with the career selections that SD My Life might be populating for them. Then after they do the personality style here, it'll show them their personality style. So we've got thinker, builder, creator, helper, persuader, and organizer. So I did that. I redo these tests a lot and I try to select different answers just to get different results. And this time it told me that I would be a good helper, a good persuader, a good organizer. And then ironically, that's probably my personality. So it really is pretty accurate, depending on how seriously the students take it. So, and once they're done with that personality style quiz, it's going to again bring up more career matches. It shows the teacher assistant and the child and youth worker that I already had selected for the first phase, but then it also added social worker. So based on the questions that I answered, it added in another career to my career options. So then once you're done with the personality style quiz, you'll move on to phase 3. And that is the career profiler. So you're going to like literally hone in on all the careers now. This is the one that's going to tell you, it's going to give you not just 3 careers or 4 careers, but as many as you can think of. So you're going to answer the same type of questions on the Likert scale here. I try to explain to students that the questions don't necessarily make sense. Like the students will ask what's with all these random questions? Just getting them to understand that every time they answer a question, the platform is populating their best fit. So it's like just trying to explain I hate to tell kids, you don't have to understand it, but just getting them to understand that, knowing that in the background as they're answering these questions, SD My Life is populating the best fit for their personality and things like that. So they'll have the same thing here. How do you feel about being involved with sports and recreational activities? There's 49 questions here. I would say all 3 of these take less than 5 minutes. So if you had 30 minutes to have your students work on the matchmaker thing, they would be able to take the assessments and explore some of the careers all in about 30 minutes. So they're going to answer those 49 questions and then they get to explore. So this was the kind of the point at the end of their questions here is they get to explore careers. So when they're done with all of those, it's going to bring up this based on the questions that I answered, just as an example, this brought up 305 careers for students to explore. Now, that can seem really overwhelming. So there's some ways to narrow things down. For students, they can decide that they want to explore careers based on just having a high school diploma. They can select high school there where the H is. They can select 2-year college or technical training, or they can select 4-year college. And then they can also decide what's the minimum amount of money that I want to make. This is the type of lifestyle I want to have. This is the type of life I expect to live. How much money do I need to make that happen? I know they don't really necessarily understand what that all entails yet. But I think most kids hear about, like, so and so makes an average of this kind of money, or my parents make this amount of money every year. And I think I could have a nice life making this amount of money. So they can select their minimum or maximum salary based on just what type of life they're expecting to live. And then they can choose their education, and then that'll narrow down the career options. They can also sort the careers based on demand. So they can have it, you can sort them based on demand. I like to do the demand high to low because it just shows the careers that they're most likely to get a job in. They can sort it based on low to high. They can sort it based on salary. They can sort it based on careers in your area. There's all different kinds of filters you can choose to explore careers to kind of narrow down your options a little bit. But when they do select a career, that's when they can really dive in and kind of ideally kids would go out in the world and kind of shadow people or have internships or apprenticeships and really experience things firsthand. But we know that that's not always practical. So this is kind of the next best option for them to explore a career. So I'll go back here one second. So once a student does pick several careers, there's little hearts on all of them. If they select a heart, it'll automatically save that career. That is letting them know that they can access that career list anytime that they want. They don't have to go back and search for it again or find it. Once they select that heart, it'll show up on their dashboard as saved careers. So this student saved the career of chef. So when they get here, they will be able to read all about the job description, the demand, the salary, what education you need, what are some related careers down here on the right-hand side of it shows baker, bartender. There will be a job description. Once they've done all of that and read through everything there is to learn about that career, they can select how they feel about it. Like, oh, it's a possibility, or, oh, this would be great. I would love to have this career. I love working in the kitchen. I love making food for people. I think this is something I want to continue to pursue. So they can select any of those options. If they select definitely not for me, it'll move it down to the bottom of their career choices. So they'll also learn on this same page about, here's the related careers that I moved to the next page just so you could see it a little bit bigger. It'll show them options in the same career field. And then at the bottom here also, it'll show what career cluster that career is in again. And then on the left here, there's an option. Every career on SD My Life has an interview with a male and a female because we know that the different genders have different experiences in the workplace. So we've tried to include those. You'll be able to read or listen to a full interview from someone who's in that career. They'll also learn this little section where it says high demand with the green arrow going up. That's a great thing to see if a student's interested in a career because it tells them that they'll have a really good likelihood of getting a job once they've had the training and all the things that they need to do this career. It means it's growing, and especially it's growing in our area. And then it'll also show them what the core tasks are. It'll show them what their workplace might look like. Just even something simple as reading kitchens can be hot and noisy. If a student doesn't like that much stimulus, if it's just too much for them, then maybe a bakery job at 4 a.m. when they're the only one in the kitchen getting, the bread ready for the day or something is a better fit than a chef in a noisy restaurant kitchen. It just gives them all of these little quips about that career so that they can do some thinking. And if they have someone kind of going through this with them, I think that's really helpful too. I think having someone explaining to them, hey, do you know that a 5 or a 12-hour shift, you're going to be on your feet the entire time? Do you think physically that's something that you want to do on a daily basis? Something they might not think about until they have a conversation with people about it. So I think it's a really great idea for someone to sit down with the student and go through some of these antidotes as well. So, and then it'll also show them, here's the working conditions kind of bigger. So you can see, it'll show them where you could have this job at other than a restaurant. It says most chefs work in a restaurant or a hotel, but it'll show them other places. Maybe a student says, I'd really like to work in healthcare. I'd like to help people that are sick. Well, there's lots of places that you can cook in hospitals, nursing homes. There's a lot of options to travel to resorts and cruise lines and things like that. It just shows the variety of what the career entails. And then it explains just a little bit more about the career and that, it's mostly not a 9 to 5 job, things like that. And here's a really, this is always really popular for students' earnings. They want to know how much money they're going to make. This explains the wage data for South Dakota, which is really fantastic. Students will learn that this may be, entry level pays $38,000 in South Dakota, but $38,000 in South Dakota is very different than $38,000 in California. You can have those conversations about cost of living and all of those things when they see this here too. So it's a really good opportunity to have those conversations with your students. So, and then it'll also show them this amazing sample career path. I love this. I want to be an executive chef. I want to run my own kitchen. Okay, well, how do we get there? So it'll show them kind of like what that entry level job looks like to get to that point, like what the money is going to look like, what you need. You could train with somebody. You might be able to get into a cooking school. Maybe you already have a lot of experience with cooking and baking because you've worked in your family restaurant throughout your teen years, things like that. And it'll tell you what the responsibilities are for each step of that career path. And it'll just show them that this is where you probably have to start to get where you want to get. And it kind of breaks that all down, the responsibilities and all the educational requirements and things like that, which can be really helpful if they're not aware. And then it'll show the student what education and training they might need. It could be a vocational school, could be a 2-year, 4-year technical school or college, a culinary school. And then it explains very, very specifically for this job. I picked chef because there's a really huge variety in what a student might need for this to be a career path. It could mean a 4-year school. It could also mean just having a high school diploma and a lot of experience and just being really good at what you're doing. So there's a lot of different avenues to get to this career. All right, so then I am going to quickly go through, sorry, I'm going to check what time it is. I'm going to go through a few more additional assessments that are available on SD My Life. These are probably, I really enjoy seeing the results of these assessments, so I wanted to be sure to share. I think as educators and people working with young folks, this is going to be really important information too. If you can just get a student to take these assessments even, you might learn a lot about your student and they might learn a lot about themselves. So there's a learning style assessment on SD My Life. Everybody's brain works differently. We all know that. Some people learn best by listening, others learn best by reading or doing hands-on tasks, and other people learn in a variety of ways. So they're going to take this quiz and it's going to show them the different ways that they learn. So this has 20 questions. It's just going to figure out their learning style by asking them these simple 20 questions. For an example here, when concentrating on something, I am more likely to be distracted by movement and clutter around me. That's me. That's my answer. Be distracted by noise near me, or I have difficulty sitting still. That would be my youngest son. He would answer the last one there. He can't sit still for 5 minutes. So everybody will answer this different depending on their personality and how they function in the world. So they'll have 20 similar questions, just helping them figure out the best way that they learn. And then when they're done with the assessment, it'll show them their results. So this person was a 40% visual learner and a 35% tactile learner. So between the two, it gave them the result of you are a visual tactile learner. And then the listening came in at 25%. So this person learns well in lots of different ways. Another student might simply only do well if they're learning by doing. So they're going to be their answers are going to give the tactile learner result. They're the type of kid who has a hard time just staring at the teacher, listening to the words coming out of their mouth, or even reading for information. They really have to be doing it to get it to stick in their heads. So those are the 3 different learning styles that students can find out which one they are if they take this assessment. And then another assessment that's really, really interesting for both students and educators is the skills lab. So this kind of helps kids think about what skills they want or they'll need for the world of work that they're thinking about. And it creates a skills profile based on their answers. And then it'll also, this is another place where it'll narrow down those career matches as they do this assessment. And there's a caveat here. It says for students to remember that their answers don't only have to be based on the skill they're good at. They should also try to think about skills they enjoy using or things they want to get better at. So they'll have the scale here for the skills lab. There's 35 questions. They all ask, how frequently would you like to use this skill in your career? And this skill, just for this example, was managing resources, choosing the right tools, materials, and facilities to carry out work. So we don't think about that very much. That's not something students think about very much. But, you know, when they're in school, usually all the tools that they need are right there at their fingertips because the school provides them or they brought supplies. But what if they're in a big warehouse or wherever and they need to decide, okay, to get this job done, these are the tools that I need. Is that something that they're comfortable with? Is that something that their brain like logically can help them get from A to B to C to find the tools that they need? So yeah, there's 35 questions similar to that. They choose always, often, sometimes, rarely, or never. And when they get to the end of those 35 questions, it will narrow down their career matches. So some of these will fit careers that they've already been assigned based on their matchmaker profile, and some of them will be new based on the answers to their skills lab. And this, again, just an endless amount of careers that they can explore based on their results. So when they're done with their skills lab, it'll also often show them, or it'll show them this list. If they picked always or often, it'll put those items down there, and then sometimes, rarely, or never, it'll give them a list of the things that they answered. And then if they're looking at them and thinking, maybe I wasn't paying that good of attention, maybe that doesn't seem like me, maybe I better do this quiz again because I wasn't, you know, the teacher told me to do it, but my heart wasn't in it. But now I'm kind of interested looking at some of these careers, so they can just quickly select the do the quiz again tab and take it again if they'd like. So that's it for the assessments. I've gone through the matchmaker, the personality style, the mission complete, the learning lab, and the skills lab. That's how the students learn who they are in SD My Life. It just helps them figure out who they are and like what they would be good at. Sometimes kids just need to be directed, like they know who they are or they have an idea of what they want to do, but maybe they haven't had the encouragement they need, or they just haven't found a resource that tells them that they would be good at this, or this might be something worth pursuing. And under the About Me section, they're offered all of the resources to kind of find out who they are and what that could mean for their future. So, and if I had a whole nother hour, I would walk through all of the career exploration on here. I kind of showed you what the careers look like, the different points of each career that a student can explore. But there's the same resources for schools, for technical schools, for four-year colleges. Every place in the country is listed on here. If they know that, you know, say mom and dad are divorced and mom lives in Montana and kiddo knows they want to move to Montana when they graduate high school, maybe they know that they should only be looking for schools. Maybe there's a great technical school out in Montana that has a culinary program or something. And so it can kind of help them do all of that research in one spot. They don't have to jump all over the internet. They don't have to, you know, go to the SDSU website and the USD website to see what their majors are. They don't have to jump all over the place. They don't have to get a dozen pamphlets from their counselor's office and bring them home and lay them all out on the dining room table. They can do all that exploration right here in one place. And then it'll also give them a lot of information about all the different majors that are offered at all of those higher institutes of education. So they can kind of see how many years it is, how much is it going to cost me, all of the questions, what kind of campus, how many kids are on campus, There's a big difference between 3,000 kids on campus and 15,000 kids on campus. Like, where is your student's comfort level? This is where they can get those answers, or get answers to those questions. And then also under options here is all of their saved options. So all of those careers that they saved while they were doing all of that research will all be there. And then they can also just like kind of freestyle on SD My Life with their goals and plans and their college planning. This is kind of a place for them to go kind of keep track of all of their information for their own personal use. It's kind of, like just a journal, I guess, for their future. They can do that here on SD My Life as well. And they also have a feature that not a lot of schools use, but the ones that do use it do it really well, the portfolio. Kids can upload things to their portfolio. They can upload assignments, art projects, things like that. They can have all of the cool stuff they've done in school, like in one place if they'd like. So the portfolios definitely does not get used to its full potential. But if a school chooses to really dive into SD My Life and really use the resource, it is free, like it's just a great free resource that they don't have to find anybody to teach it. The students generally figure out how to navigate SD My Life by themselves. It's just a matter of giving them the opportunity to do it. So the portfolio is a really great resource as well. And then just kind of to finish on this, one of the biggest questions I get too is how do I get back? So up at the top left-hand corner for educators, for students, anytime you're anywhere in SD My Life, first of all, everything you're doing is going to be saved. You don't have to save it. Other than selecting your careers, there's your matchmaker. If you quit it halfway through your matchmaker and you have to log off the computer because the bell rang, when you log back on, it's going to take you right back to where you were. Same thing with the skills lab, learning style. If you're exploring careers, if you've saved careers, if you've saved schools, that's all going to be there when you log back on. But if you need to get to your dashboard where we're at right now, you're just always going to click the Zello, the word Zello up there in the top left-hand corner. I get that question when I'm doing trainings. I get that question even from educators. How do I get back to my dashboard? On every page, you can choose the Zello option up there in the left-hand corner, and it'll take you right back to where you started. So it's really, really wonderful ease of use as well. So I just rambled on for a long time. Does anybody have any questions? I have not been monitoring the chat, so I will put my contact information up here. And if you have any questions, please chime in.
So far, there has not been anything in chat, but I'd like to chime in for just a second and say, before we can really do a good, solid transition plan for students that's useful, some of the things we really need to teach them are the self-advocacy and do that career exploration. So going into SD My Life and having the students go through this, they can see what they're interested in and they can then say, well, according to my aptitude test and the things that I like doing and the things I don't care to do, this is maybe a good area for me. So it starts giving them a voice too.
Yeah, it really does. And it also validates them. A student will often say, well, my mom or dad said I wouldn't be good at this. Well, you know what? Maybe you will. Maybe mom and dad don't know you as well as, the Likert scale on SD My Life does, so sometimes it's really, and then sometimes too, like if we're being completely honest, sometimes it's going to help kids realize that maybe that the path that they were considering isn't a good fit for them. You have kids who say, I want to be a nurse. I'm going to go be a nurse. And then the first chance they get to be around a needle or blood, they pass out, they're just, they don't kind of comprehend all of the moving parts of a certain career path. So yeah, it's really a great tool to help validate them or to help them figure out if they need to take another path.
Right. And learning what we don't want is valuable as well.
Oh, absolutely. I tell that, I tell that to my own kids all the time, that learning learning what you don't like and what you're not good at is just as valuable as the other, because invest a lot of time and energy or even money? How many students go off to college and discover after 2 years that what they thought was their dream job is not a good fit for them? So I always tell the kids there's no mistakes, there's just happy accidents. So make a happy accident on SD My Life instead of after your second year at SDSU.
Right, before you spend $20,000.
Okay.
Is there anyone who has a question for Kara or a comment?
I have a question.
Yeah,
Would you,
Betsy.
do most schools use this? Do all schools use this?
No, all schools do not use this. I would say a good chunk of South Dakota schools use SD My Life for something. They may just use it for the matchmaker and the skills lab to satisfy their administrative rules, and that's all
Okay.
they ever use it for. And then other schools really dive in, like students access it on a regular basis and keep track of things. Yeah, counselors use it, or maybe a homeroom teacher. Or we have a lot of core content teachers that access SD My Life with their students on a regular basis, just as part of their curriculum.
I have another question.
Yeah.
TSLP, do you find that a lot of schools use it with their kids with disabilities at that high school level, or you're not around enough to have an idea?
I was gonna say nobody else is chiming in, but please do, guys. In my very limited experience, I've only been here a few years. They're just really kind of learning about it
Okay.
and learning about the value it can bring. Have any of you seen that differently?
Yeah.
I agree. Quite a few of my schools use it.
Good.
Yeah.
During student teaching, I learned about SD My Life, and I actually jumped on here to see if there's anything new. And so far, it's still current. I mean, I'm a first year teacher, so take that with a grain of salt. And it's new to the district that I'm currently in, so it's fairly new.
SD My Life has been around for, I think we're going on about 20 years. It looks very different than it did then. And it was really just satisfying those administrative rules at the beginning. But the schools that do dive in and spend, it's important to remind schools that it's free and it's not going to, a lot of schools are like, well, if I get into this, am I going to have to spend money to access this feature or that feature? You really can do everything that is promised without spending any money. So
Also, as Kara was kind of mentioning before, if she had more time, she would cover more things. So that also just wants me to put a plug in for the Transition Summer Institute, because Kara is also going to be presenting there as well in co-collaboration with Katie Gran. So just thought I would throw that out there as well.
yes, you can come see me in person.
Will we get an email with those times? I know we had it in Flash here, or have we gotten an email?
This is Bev. Devin, you're in one of my schools. I have not had a chance to. I have it on my schedule for tomorrow to get an email out about the Summer Institute. So you should be
No
getting.
worries. I
Okay.
just didn't know if it got swept away in the swamp of emails.
It will be coming tomorrow.
Awesome, thank you.
That's been a little busy. And if you don't see it for some reason, 'cause I know sometimes the K-12 system kicks out our state emails for those of us who are in a state office, be sure to check out tslp.org. Everything we're doing is going to be on there at some point.
Yes, all the Transition Summer Institute stuff, the flyer and registration are all on our website.
Any other comments or questions?
I do see in the chat that my coworker Andrea, who was on with us, she did share the link to SD My Life. If you wanted to click on it, she shared that, so you could just go on there and explore. If you are an educator and you would like an account, just email me and I will literally set up an account for you. So you'll have an educator account so you can explore all the things you can do on the educator side of things. It's so in depth. I mean, you can create reports, see how your students are doing on SD My Life, or you can experience from a student view as well. So just let me know.
I have an administrative account, I think, or whatever it's called. And
Mm-hmm.
so at our Catch the College Wave here at Northern this fall, we were able to have the students put their dream careers on the wall with Post-its. And then we just grabbed several of them and we're able to look them up and see what education they need for that. What's their salary range going to be? Is it a high demand career? It can be really valuable for those kids, just even to get a taste of it. So,
And if they have a
well,
smart or a tablet or a computer, they can log on pretty easy. So there's yeah, we even the software now makes everything even look great on a smartphone. So I would not like to go through all of the assessments on a smartphone, but a 14-year-old would think it's just fine. So
yeah, they have better eyesight than we do, Kara. That's
yeah,
what it is.
absolutely.
Well, if there's nothing further from the group, you've got Kara's contact information, and if you do have further questions, you can contact us as well. Thank you so much, Kara, for coming and sharing with us, and for Andrea to
Yes,
help.
I appreciate it.
And we will see you all in April for our final transition roundup of the year. So be looking for that, and our subject matter on that. That slide will be going out probably toward the end of March. So be looking for that.